Okay, so here we're on the 620 turn. I've thrown down my command chits that I want to use. It's not too hard. The French don't have many, and the Allies can largely cover everything that they want to with a command chit. Once the reinforcements come on completely, that's going to change things a little bit. One problem I have, for example, this guy, I got to figure out where he is. So he's 2 WP Fusiliers. Yeah, I don't know. I can't figure out who he belongs to. It's the same as this. 2 WP Fusiliers. I don't know. It's going to be a 2nd West Prussian. Okay. And so this is part of Kleist's command. So in order to activate these, I'm going to have to kind of swing some of Kleist's capability in that direction. That's okay, because I intend to move. This is Zethan's command here. It just became available. I intend to move that again. I'm doing those flank attacks, so that's not going to be a problem. I can scoop up some of those units. I can find them all. I mean, 2 of them are easily visible. I don't know where that 3rd one is. Maybe kicking back here or somewhere else. Who knows? Anyway, it's time to start pulling chits. Yeah, I'm really torn on the idea of whether or not to go to full chit pull. For play, it would be much, much easier to do so. But there are certain circumstances where there's a significant difference, which is if I have a number of formations near each other, having them move kind of at random out of the chit pull cup would not present, I think, as accurate a situation as the I go you go type structure would, and the I go you go as expressed in this game with the randomizing who goes first. Unfortunately, on the other side, one of the other advantages of using the pure chit pull, other than, hey, I can walk away partway through a turn, I don't have to worry too much. You know, I don't have to move all my formations at once. And there's a lot in this game. Is when I pull a piece, I go find that piece and I move it. You know, it's possible that I might forget that something like this exists. I don't know if that's terrible. It's going to be part of the command system, right? There's more units than I can remember. It's a big map. There's a lot all over the place. Well, it's not optimal in my view. All right. Oh, you know, I forgot the rain effects. I'm not sure my artillery was capable of firing. We may undo those artillery fires. The only thing we did in the game, right? Yeah, pretty much. Forced activation. Visibility 6 hexes. Yeah, I was firing at more than 6. So I'm going to undo that, the ammo expenditure and the casualty over there. Austrians got the first chip. We had an artillery chip, but there's nothing that can be done with that as we should. Because obviously the French guns are even further behind, and they're the only ones that are assembled in such a way, they have bastion guns in such a way that they could fire on that chip. Moved somebody or other. Let's see who this is. Schneller. His cav up to face Pujol's cav. Pujol's going to have to probably get out of there. And you can see I'm taking advantage. Cav really wants to be spread out because they get their full melee value for every hex they take up. So I don't think I'm maximally spread, but I'm as far as I could and still have moved where I went to. Some stuff moving forward here from the rear. Now, the reinforcements haven't moved yet. They have to wait until they get their reinforcement chit. Main Prussian force, Eachel or whatever, moving into place here. Wittgenstein positioning his own cav so that he can threaten the windmill. And probably see the French fall back from there too. It's just not a particularly valuable location from what I can see. Not when I have my line defined out here and it looks a little sparse. I can pull him out and send him maybe to help guard over there. And in fact, since the French haven't gotten their action yet, they probably will. Anyway, that's our positioning at this point. Not a lot to say. It's just, it is so pretty. It really is. So the French get the next chip pull. That means all the French units move. Pajol spreads out a little bit here. Okay. I may be outgunned, but I need to do what I can. And I'm not at maximum extension there, but it's hard for me to manipulate pieces in this game. Just, I don't know, it may be a psychological thing. Over here, over on the windmill heights, the question is, do I need to get out of there? Can I get out of there? Because now I'm facing Cav. Now I'm in range, not quite visible range, so I can't fire my artillery now. I could hand haul it and shoot some long range fire moving forward a hex, or, and that is not in the zone, I don't remember how far that zone is, but ooh, it may be movement rate. I don't remember. I'll have to look that up. But certainly I have to be visible for them to charge me. But the other opportunity might be just get the hell out of Dodge. That looks like such a terrible place to be, especially now that, you know, these columns of infantry are heading up there. What purpose can they serve? Now, this is always a tactical problem for me because I have a hard time sacrificing a piece like that or a unit like that in exchange for, you know, maybe delaying some time or not. Mentally, I just do not see too much advantage to it. The only worry is that I haven't gotten out of there quickly enough already. All right, well, we pulled a bunch more chits, but the only thing that happened was these guys skedaddled, because the rest of the chits were all Allied or French chits, which have no effect anymore. I've still got, I drew the leader chit, and I don't have any leaders I want to reposition. I did what I wanted to last turn, or yeah, I guess. I have a whole bunch of leaders I don't really have a whole bunch of uses for. The French, on the other hand, don't have enough leaders, but I can't really afford to dispatch any from anywhere I have leaders. At some point, I'm going to get a whole pile of leaders with Napoleon, and then I'll have no command problem there. But there's something irritating about just drawing chits and them not having an effect, vaguely. It kind of reminds me of the On to Paris game, but here I just draw a chit and say, yeah, I don't need to use that. So it's really not that big a deal. It's just this vague sort of, why am I doing this? Wouldn't 6 chits do the same? Well, not quite, but what is the point behind there being a pile of Austrian chits in there, 2 French chits, and then the 4 special chits, as opposed, you know, what is the differentiation? Because if I wasn't ordering a bunch of Austrian or Allied forces to move, there'd be less likelihood that they move early in the turn. I'm just not sure. It might make sense. There might be some really weird gamey things that you want to do with this, and because it doesn't seem to represent anything. I understand the entropy you want to add to the cup, but I don't quite understand what the meaning is behind more chits being in there, meaning that you go earlier with all your forces. It seems weird to me. Anyway, and after pulling all the chits and then hunting down all their locations on the map, we have some new units that are going to be coming available at 640 now. These guys are going to be active at this point. I think that's it. I have to look through. Boy, these were a good idea. We also have the problem that all the reinforcements have entered that were coming in. That means I have to start allocating command points to moving them. And these guys at the very least have to move. These guys probably have to move. I may hold off on these because I'm seeing what's looking like beginning to be a traffic jam. I could have avoided it by stringing up this way, but then I start creating problems over there, I guess. I don't know. I want to follow the nice road. Nothing much has happened. I haven't really, it's all going to hit at once, and it's got to happen that way. We might start seeing some cav action here. That's the only thing I can think of. All right, well, that was much smoother than the last turn. Been setting things up for the 640 turn. All the chits pulled. The French decided not to guarantee this, and gosh, I haven't rolled for it. I really should. They're not getting a command there, which means they don't have the opportunity to really do anything. If they get charged, they can, reaction charge and such not. But if they start to get outflanked or something, it could cause problems, and I may need to spend a point. I spent my one command over here to keep moving these guys. I'm going to get them over to the Friedrichstadt, where I think they're of more value to me than they were out here on this thing. Now what you'll see is some of these command markers sitting out on their own. This is the administrative march in the game. So for example, this unit is going to make an administrative march up to here. This unit's making one up to here. I don't know if I needed that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I kind of do. And I could actually slide it a hex further up or whatever. But those are kind of vague as to where, you have to put them in command basically. So that's not too big a deal. Now, the reason that you do these is now these command points remain allocated to those units, and this is sort of the equivalent of written orders in this game, and it works kind of nicely until I reach there or pull it off. So that's kind of a nice factor, because now I can allocate the command points that were used to generate this on the next turn. And most of these are just 2-turn jumps on the next turn to another unit if I need it. Now, I don't think I really have too much of that problem. We're seeing some things coming in 7:40, 7 o'clock down here. So these guys might get moving. But I didn't have enough commands, for example. I didn't allocate anything to this artillery here, and there's something else that I was shifting around, wasn't there? Nah, I guess not. These cav found their way someplace. So, I had one command that didn't get allocated. This guy didn't get a command either, which that could actually be a problem. Let me see where my overall commander is. He has probably a 6 range. It's Kleist. Yeah, he does not have range, so I got to kind of position him so he can put this guy into command, because this guy can then move this guy can then move this unit, and I'm worried that another unit got absorbed into this. Oh, what a shame. Oops. He's actually technically, I think, part of this command, but whatever. That's going to happen. And when things like that happen, it's not that terrible. Other than, you could just say, oh, what a shame. But the rules actually allow you to attach and detach individual units. So something could get swept. Oh, it's this unit up here. Something could get swept up in that fashion by design. So if it happens accidentally, it's not really a terrible thing. you can just live with it. Which in some ways is kind of cool, because in most of these big tactical games, you have to maintain your command radiuses much more carefully. Well, you have to maintain your command radiuses with the right units. Attaching and detaching isn't usually covered. CWB, NBS, those cover attachment and detachment, but you do it by written orders, and if something accidentally gets moved over, you're kind of like, okay, how did this happen, and what do I do now? Type of situation. We must be on top of artillery. Okay, anyway, enough chatter. Well, I drew a allied chit and started moving this column first. Hey, it's the first thing in my order. And I realized, maybe I wanted to charge here. Thinking about it though, if I charge, I give the counter charge advantage, as it were, to the French. Getting this cav out of the way would be neat, but pinning it in place right now while I let these guys do what they're up to, which is moving up there so they can shove some guys off the map and then sweeping in, that may be just as valuable. So I think holding off a turn on that charge is perfectly valid as a choice. These guys can't fire. I didn't give them a chit. So, you know, just you can see I'm playing this a little bit looser than maybe I would with some, in terms of, you know, I'd really kind of be like, oh, I was planning on charging, but I'm not really sure what it's going to do, and I'm kind of afraid of it. Points after the allied shit has been completed. First one. I'm having trouble doing this all, even with it very, very simple in terms of, yeah, I'm just trying to get someplace. But with 6 commands or whatever in that 10-minute time frame. Given that a multiplayer version of this would still have the same 10-minute time frame in place, I think you probably want to extend that, especially with newer players. But with a battle this size, it feels a little too much. Like, I'm under it, but not by much. Anyway, and that's just for maneuver. Once you get to combat, your clock's off. One interesting point that we have is this column's moving through here. This column wants to cross that road. Now, I think the rules do not cover this, but if you've got one big column going through here and another big column trying to pass through, you can't have them both operate through there. You're going to have to pay some kind of penalty. So I'm just house ruling this and saying, let one go through or the other, or else, you know, pay a cost equal to the number of movement points cutting through, if that's continuous line. And it's not a big deal if there's not a road being used, because, you know, units don't fill up an entire hex, but they do pretty much fill up the road. And they're, you know, you might be able to skitter a small unit through or something without it having too much impact, but you wouldn't be able to bring this whole column through without it doing so. So I'm just doing that as sort of there ought to be a traffic jam there. I didn't see any rules for that, which it's a hard thing to write rules for. So, all right. We make it to 7 a.m. actually. Just buzzing along, and the floor under me is buzzing again. This is not music. I think it's just he's got huge fans. These units come with these big fans, and his seems to be rattling my whole place. Anyway, one of the tricky things is I can't remove these forced march counters, so that's easy enough if things were in the cup. No, it's not easy enough, right? Yeah, it's easy enough because things won't be in the cup. I did kind of cheat and threw a French force march counter on these guys. They're heading through the new stat. It looks easier than trying to figure out movement through all that all-stat territory. I don't know what I'm doing with them. I don't think this is their... I mean, I know their command's not over here, but they're kind of detached units however you look at it, and I don't know if they're ever going to find their home, because to do so requires trying to figure out these charts, trying to reference the charts. Figuring them out's not too terribly hard, although it's not trivial. Finding particular things in them is not at all easy. Anyway, that's where we are right now. Now some new stuff is coming in. We got these guys becoming available. There's no reinforcements for the French. I think these guys aren't until 9. But I seem to think there was something else at 7. I guess not. Anyway, onward. Alright, well, 7 a.m. we picked our choices. The first chit came out. And at this point, we're going to do the most complicated thing in the game system, really. Well, maybe not with the locations there, but what we're going to do is a cav charge here. It's not going to be a massed cav charge, although the reaction charge might be, because Pujol's is a special ability cav leader, so he might actually fling 2 units forward. I've designated my charges. Now these are all light cav on both sides. Something I wasn't sure of. That could have been really embarrassing, and I might have changed formation if, like, the Allied cav was light and the French were heavies. It's light cav because of its speed. Everything's speed 13 or higher. I've marked the charges, and now I start them one at a time. And as they get into range, which is actually, because I'm facing light cav, 6 hexes, they can be countercharged. I don't know what the hell that thing's going to do. That's a Landgraben. Okay. NP, I think that probably means not permitted, so I can't cross that. I was able to cross it because of the roads there, but wow, this might not be, this might not work out very well. Because if it's not permitted, I'm sure I can't attack across it either, and I'm not quite sure what this all means. I may change my mind as to what I'm doing here, but so far in the Dresde rules, and I can't say I've looked exhaustively, but I can't find a prohibition against attacking across terrain you can't move through. That obviously seems like something that would be in place, but you know, I was hoping to find some sort of terrain effects of melee, because I would think a stream or something like that, which cavalry could cross, would provide some sort of defensive benefit. There's nothing present on a chart, and honestly, I can't find anything in the rulebook. I'm gonna turn to the regs over there. So far, it seems like things have gotten either hidden in these roles, or in some cases, I'm pretty sure completely dropped. That are kind of necessary for play, which sucks given the level of verbosity of these roles. I mean, there's a lot of extra words being used to describe things, but like I said, they don't always describe everything that actually needs to be explained or whatever. And here I'm left with neither in the cav rules or cav charge rules, nor in the melee rules, which they sort of leverage off of, I guess. They don't make sense if they don't. What's going on here? So I may end up changing, and another reason I may end up changing is if I don't charge with certain units, they can they can reaction charge. No. Yeah, they can reaction charge, but the problem with that is they can't move before they reaction charge. Now I gotta remember, No, I didn't move these. That was last turn that I was thinking about doing the charge anyway. Anyway, there's nothing I can do though, because the reaction charge radius is really just a single hex. So unless I'm wrong, maybe they have opportunity charge, which is just so weird. They certainly have reaction charge, but okay, reactive cavalry have an opportunity zone, but I remembered somewhere cavalry and their targets marked with charge markers may not attempt any further actions. Jeez, I remember just seeing something that seemed to allow an opportunity charge. I wouldn't think so. That should really just be the reactive player. But anyway, I gotta figure out what the hell's going on here, because, you know, obviously, like with the roads, I can house rule this, and that's fine. But I'd expect this one. I'd expect would be present. The problem is not just this land grabbing, which is prohibited as far as I can see. I'm assuming that's what NP is, not permitted. For movement by the cavalry, which is not what I expected. I figured a dry stream bed might be a problem, but anyway. If I was back here, I could shorten, but I'm not going to be able to. I still probably want to launch the assault, but anyway, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But since this is a singular assault, I'm going to set off with this unit first. And it sets off making one movement point under charge. Now, I can react to this at this point. It's within 6 hexes of all these non-phasing cavalry. And this unit is smaller than this unit. Problem is, I'm afraid of what happens if I launch this cav. Then I don't have anything guarding me, but I think I kind of have to. Anyway, I'll let this move another hex forward. And now I'm going to launch a reaction charge here. And then this guy becomes the assaulting cav, I believe. Let me make sure I got the notation right. Missed something before I do that. Oh, look at that roll. I have to make a morale check. He has a morale of 26. I don't believe there are any modifiers to this. That's lower. He just failed his reaction. And that means I think, do we need to tighten our lines? I think we'll go this way, so because I don't think we can hit and keep moving part of the formation. So I think we slide into that position. And now that allows for not another charge opportunity, I don't believe, but an artillery shot. I'll check reaction charge, which is something else which I may be able to do here. Got the two terms mixed up, and I'm not sure why they both exist, to tell you the truth. The reaction charge, so this is why I want to keep units unassigned. The reaction charge is actually, and I'll stay with what I have, the attacker is allowed to do the reaction charge. But the reaction charge is the thing after 6 hexes. Opportunity charge is just adjacent hex. So I failed my reaction charge check, actually, but now I can make an opportunity charge check instead, and that succeeds. So opportunity charge is not at this point. I'm sorry. They're essentially the same kind of thing. Opportunity charge is closer, but I don't get to make that morale check. I can't do both in the charge au cheval. Charge au cheval, I can only do reaction charges. Opportunity charge is the 1 hex in front. So anyway, these guys still would have reaction charges if I hadn't marked them with charge markers. But let me look at the... Oop! I brought something that's not part of me. Go back. Let me look at the artillery, though. I'm not sure when it gets its opportunity. Well, it doesn't. Okay, we'll ignore that for a little bit. Let's do the next charge. I'm going to move forward, but I'm going to shrink this to 2 hexes. And now, this guy I think's been charged, so I don't think he can do an opportunity charge, or reaction charge, or whatever the fuck they are. This guy could, but I'm a little low on units. Let's check him. He's at 26 as well. I'll hold. This comes forward. I'm going to make the check. Yeah, see, I don't want to make the check now because if I hit him, then these guys can hit me and we'll turn the charge around. So I allow this charge to take place, I guess. And I think I mark these here. And now this butthead's gonna move forward with his charge. This guy shouldn't have a charge declared on him. The reason is he will, he's not gonna be able to hit. Well, no, we did it. Fuck it. We'll see what happens. Part of him's not gonna be able to hit. Okay, I've moved here. This is gonna reaction charge that. This has only a 15 morale, and it gets in there. So it moves a space. Now he's up next, and I don't know what to do, but I want to open up room for this other unit. Who's this? This is a part of this unit. So now this charge is going in this direction, but now we're going to reverse it because this guy will move forward with his charge. And yeah, I know I'm spread out over all hell and creation, but and we'll hit here, and that reverses this charge to over here, if I understand things correctly. And it does, I think, take the other unit out of the charge. Now, I think that artillery gets a shot at something. It may have had it already, but I'm going to have to try to find that. And there's no really detailed sequence of play on this. It might, you might be able to piece one together, I think you are, out of the information provided. But I'm not someone who's willing to do that right now. I'm just, really testing out the system at such a coarse level that those little things are going to be hard to remember, even if I had them all detailed out. Okay, let's look up the artillery, see when and where it was supposed to fire, and then try to resolve all these charges. And that's, this would be the Malaya Cheval. Wow, it says during the maneuver segment, not during timed movement, right? That says movement. I'm assuming that's time movement. Okay, so this is kind of cool. Because these units are charging, they are exiting the zone of influence of this artillery piece to move into the opposing hex. That means that... What the fuck is this guy up to? Oh, he got stopped. Okay. That means that they do get an opportunity fire. Otherwise, if I'd been countercharging with those cav, they'd be in front of the guns and they'd block its vision. Okay. So we're going to do a regular artillery fire here. Actually, this is the few a chance or something like that. And we need to find some charts. And we've kind of done this before. But the fire defense, this is cav charging across open terrain. I don't know how many there are. It looks like there's 7 or 8 in each hex. And it's in line. That's going to have a defensive 9. The attack's going to be the biggest attack possible, which looks like a 12. And we have Canister. This is not what I need. Canister. It's assault modifiers. Anything here? Okay, there is nothing here. So Canister is only handled in the rolls, so I have to go do another rolls lookup. It's just going to be a 1-column shift. So I had 12 to 9. Well, it's time for the calculator, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's going to get us down to 1 to 1. With a 1-column odds shift, that's going to get us up to 1.5 to 1. The French don't have normal artillery losses. Only on 11 do they run out of artillery and they have to figure, or ammo, and they have to figure out how to get their ammo. And I mean, this is kind of weird because if they get kind of cut off, they sort of have almost unlimited ammo that way. Oh, but we came close. Well, a 12 is not going to do any damage, so forget that. And now we move on to resolving the actual charges. And I found the terrain rule. Not particularly hidden, just these rules are a pain for me, so. Okay. And at some point or another we had to declare the targets of our charges. That's not really a big deal in this case, I don't think, although this is the most complex type situation, charge versus charge. So we have a charge defined here, this unit hitting this, which they're both 3 hex units. Then we have this unit hitting part of this. Didn't we have a, no, we didn't have a reverse. This unit's not in the charge, and he's got a problem. Perhaps, but he did contact. And then we have a charge from part of this unit hitting that unit. Alright. Let's see what happens. See, I don't know if this guy gets, like, blown because the ugly kind of did not contact situation. Because he did contact, but I think that charge has been negated. And I'm going to have to look about that. But let's do this one. We'll check these guys. Alright. He looks like he has a 35 strength and he has a 48. Okay, that's not quite the numbers I was expecting. and we'll have to look at the melee rules. Not clear to me from the rules is whether or not there's a pre-morale check, a pre-melee morale check in charging. I can't find anything that says there isn't, but I also can't find anything that implies that there is. I looked at the regs and they kind of seem to indicate that there isn't, but I'm not really certain on this. Anyway, we're just going to push forward without that piece of information. So I have a 35 hitting a 48, but I think I have it per hex. I recall somewhere in the rules it says cav strength is per hex, but which is why you want to spread out. And we have a multi-unit attack. So I don't know what the hell this all works out as. Melee Cheval. Procedure. As soon as all declared charges have run their course, a charge segment is over. Well, that's not really helpful. This is not where I wouldn't expect this to be in the procedure. Okay. But that's not what it's saying. The active player now, oh yeah it is, defines each melee according to the positioning of the charge informational markers. As each melee is defined, the reactive player gives defensive fire if appropriate, which we did ahead of time, I think. Once this is done, defensive melee strengths and the defined assault are compared to the assaulting melee strengths and the odds ratio tabulated, and then you roll it on the melee chart. Okay. So the question here, essentially, for this charge, we have 35 versus 48. And I think we have 35 times 2 versus 48 times 2. But I'm not going to look that up because it doesn't matter on this particular one. Do we have any modifiers here? Does anybody have lances? He was charging in line, but he didn't go 3 hexes, so I think I moved too close before I started the charge. Crap. That's a lesson learned. I think what we end up doing is straight up, looks like it's going to be one less than the 1-to-1 table, which is, ew, the 1-to-2 table. This is not going to be good. See, here it says whenever a unit wishes to stand before a cavalry charge. In the rules, it says an infantry or artillery unit. It specifies that difference. And we're not really standing in this case either. We've made a counter charge, haven't we? Or not? We have not in this case. And that's the kind of... Oh, when light cav consolidates during a charge. Shit, did I do that? I probably did that. I don't know who. So they have to check morale. Well, I wouldn't have thought that. And some of these aren't real morale checks, of course. But what I'm looking for is... any kind of modifiers. I have the assault morale modifiers, but that's on the check, rolling to stand. Yeah, I don't think I make a check here. Nobody was recalling. So I think this is just right up here on the ugly table. We get a 32, that's an attacker, disordered. And he's going to move some proportion of his movement allowance. We also have some tired markers to play on this one. Okay, so he's going to get knocked back half his, it's either a third or a half. And he's going to get a double tired, one for charging and one for actually fighting. And he's going to get a single tired for fighting the melee. Mistaken. These guys must have moved their 3 hexes. See, this is where it gets tricky because you move all these units and now you have to remember how far they moved. So if this guy moved twice his movement, that would be 70 to 48. 70 to 48 would certainly put us to 1-to-1. I think that's 1.5 to 1. Not quite. 48 would be 24, 60, 72. So it's 1 to 1. So it was actually a 32 over here. So I got the wrong result. This should be a 1-1 star. This is a blank result for infantry and artillery only. Cavalry bounce on a blank result. Okay, so we don't take the disorder necessarily. We look up the rules on bouncing. Eventually, the process will become second nature, right? I say. So both units do take the mandatory loss, which is not what I expected. This unit is retreated a third of its hexes, and now it makes a morale check. It has a 24. We succeed, so we're not routed by bouncing. Alright, that's one down. I've got stuff to do. So, we'll come back and finish this melee later in the day. And maybe tomorrow, depending on how big my schedule is, because I have something I have to do outside, well, that's going to push my work hours into weird condition. Result worked a little better for the Austrians. 44 to 45, but it's actually an 88 because of the 3 hex charge. I had enough room to make it. The only place where I think I didn't is on where the counter charge was. I'm not going to assess that there. Did I forget there? We'll let it stand because it wasn't a very good roll. In this case, we got a 56, which is a good roll. That gets us to the disorder level. Cav units don't disorder, so it's going to rout. Here we had a charge where both units... No, I lied. This one's gone. The other one's more interesting. The final location is here. So this attack was made, both units took a 2 result. It was over on the 1 to 2 table, because those were French Lancers up there. As far as I can tell, they just stand. There's no big deal. But these guys are a problem. These guys did not hit. Now, technically, I think I had to do this before. I think they have an opportunity to recall from the charge, but if they don't, they were cut off, and then they have the did not contact penalty. This is not all clearly spelled out in any sense, but to recall, I need to make a morale check. We'll try doing that. They got equal. I don't remember if that's success or not. I'll be back. I believe I was actually reading that wrong because of the opportunity reaction charge distance. This was a reaction charge. I keep looking at opportunity. So actually this should have been added in. And they're all lights, so it doesn't matter. So the strength point total would have been 3253 to 49 plus 7, 56. It would be 1.5. Nope, still 1 to 2. So actually we had no additional result. The only thing is I'll distribute the losses. So actually both end given a fatigue marker, which this should actually be a double fatigue here. This guy charged and attacked. This guy reaction charged and attacked. That does not give you an additional fatigue if I recall correctly. I think reaction and opportunity charge do not. So we have higher fatigue penalties against the allied units. I think. You know, I can't guarantee. And that's all the activity that's taking place for this unit. I don't need to flip it. Now, I have not already moved to this one, I don't think. I think those are the only cav charges we've got, but I gotta look over there to make sure. I know this is... First of all, I may be misplaying something, and those of you who are familiar with the rules, if you're watching this, and you see something that you think I'm really doing wrong, let me know, because it's not a big deal at this point. You know, if I screw something up, hey, it is a learning game, and these are really tough the concepts in these rules aren't clearly explained, at least to my capability to grasp them as any kind of rigorous rules, and I feel like I'm kind of interpreting to figure out what I'm supposed to do in these cases. And if there's a more standard interpretation, or if there's even better, a clear, violation of a statement of the rules. Of course, from what I've heard from most of you, you guys haven't really used the Dresde rules yet. And they're kind of a mess compared to other rules. I should probably look at the regs and make sure what I'm doing conforms with that, because I don't want to get things completely screwed up. This seems reasonable, but there's a lot of things that can seem reasonable in a tactical game. I'm here, and it seems the same in the regs, is this whole charge procedure. And although it's not as clearly stated in the Dresde rules, but the charge procedure pretty much assumes it's not a cav versus cav charge. For example, a cav unit stops and awaits melee as cheval, or if the target fails to roll the standard pursues, the player executes other charges by repeating 1 through 7. Once all are executed, there's a final fire by the target, followed by melee as cheval. And everything seems to assume you don't do a cav versus cav charge. Now, obviously, once we get to opportunity charges and reaction charges, there's definitely the assumption of something else. So I'm going to jump over here because I've been using what seems to be the regular cav versus infantry type charge rules, and I just want to make sure that there's not something I'm missing that's present in the regs that, maybe is either just not in Dresde or is harder to read. I thought my first interpretation was correct here. Under the Turbulence, it's very clearly stated, other contacts, only the last charge or resolution charge in a Turbulence is resolved via the melee resolution. Other contacts between the charging and reaction charging cav units built into the Turbulence are ignored. And then very clearly the result of that, all parts of a Turbulence that do not take part in the melee that results automatically disorder once, and that's, you can't disorder because it's grand plus disorder for cav once that melee is resolved. Now, I don't believe, and I couldn't find anything else that helped me here, but I don't believe that is actually spelled out as clearly here. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Reaction charge turbulence. See, we're actually looking at reaction charge. Yeah, it's not clearly stated here. It's almost as if the rule simplification was removal of all the kind of conclusive stuff, or at least a significant proportion of conclusive sentences from the regs to make this even more obscure than it was in the regs, which is not the clearest thing to read to begin with, but wow, they took out, some of the clarifications that originally writing the rules a little bit more clearly wouldn't have required, but kind of, wow. I don't even know what to say about this, except that these rules are a piece of fucking shit. Anything in the difference between the two rules, though? And this probably happened at some earlier point in the regs, carried over to Marie-Louise, whatever. But by segmenting out the cavalry charge aspects into something that happens outside. So remember, the regs that I have, I believe, are full chit pull, which is you draw a chit and you play that formation. You draw a chit, you play that formation. The Dresde rules are this weird sort of, you move everything at once, which has its advantages. I think significant advantages. And I don't really... But anyway, by segmenting out the charge rules, first of all, that becomes, I think, really vital because of the grand scheme of things. But it also means... that you're not getting the charges kind of mixed up with the regular movement and the assaults that could occur with that. And I think there's some interactions there that would have become ugly complex. Okay. Anyway, my thinking up here where I have another possibility to charge is, one, I'm not sure I want to charge formed good infantry, but I'm not sure what my cav is good for at this point if I don't at least attempt to charge, try to get them into square. This isn't the time to do it though. As we can see, the cav that charged here is in pretty damn bad shape. And, you know, one routed, one French routed. I mean, they're coming out about even, but they're a little bit more fatigued for having made the actual charges. I don't want to make my charges have to recall and then have to recover my cav over a couple of turns or whatever, when those are probably just going to form square. But if I can get them to form square just before I send the infantry in, that actually gives me some advantages because they won't be able to provide the same level of fire power, etc. So, you know, you have the opportunity to use the combined arms here by having these segmented out as well, which is, or it's a clearer opportunity, one that even my brain can kind of mostly grasp, where I can send the cav in, force the squares to be formed, and then take advantage of that after the cav gets blown or bounced or whatever you want to say. And if the cav happens to get a breakthrough, well, that opens up a space for the infantry to follow up. So I'm seeing some possibilities for some really nice interaction. Now, it's not like other games don't provide this. It's just, I think this does a good job from what I can see so far. I've completed the movement segment. I'm hoping to get this in within an hour, but a little bit of traffic jam with the Russian forces there. Those are mainly skirmishers, or skirmisher-capable units with range, are deploying themselves for a fight. Obviously, these are not going to be all skirmishers, I hope. There's a fair number in there, but whatever. That's the advanced guard. There's more rifles and such. Not a bit more traffic jam over here, as I can't really find my way through the straightest path without, there's stuff blocking it that's too big to walk through, so without making disorder checks. So I'm heading up kind of out of the way, these guys making their way where they are. One problem I have is, when does the reorg happen? I'm going with it happens on the chit as opposed to at some end of the turn time. I can't find any rules that are clear on that in Dresde. I remember seeing some in the regs that seemed to indicate that on each chit pull you had a recovery phase. There's a little problem with that. Not so much with the disorder. I need a leader to rally these guys, but with the recovery, it sounds like the tiredness recovery is supposed to happen at the end of the whole turn. I say screw that, because remembering whether or not something meleeed this turn or whatever is much easier if it just went. I still have to remember if it doesn't quite fit together. Okay, let's just put it that way. It doesn't quite work right, and I don't see a way to reconcile it, and I don't have time to go into it because I'm on a stupid U-turn account. The rest of the chits are coming. I don't expect to take up much time on them. Oh fuck. Yeah, we're gonna end this. All right, so we'll load up the 7A to M turn. We'll have another like 10 minutes because I'll probably babble a lot on it rather than cut it short like I'm trying to do here.